AITA for refusing to take in my brother and ex's baby after my mom's deception? I, a 29-year-old guy, have rewritten this post like 5 times trying not to sound completely crazy, but whatever. So here is the chaos in its entirety. Throwaway account because my family snoops worse than the FBI. I started dating this girl, let's call her Jenna, in high school. We were both seniors at our local high school, and prom was approaching. I was not super popular or anything, but not a loser either, just a normal guy. I played some sports, had decent grades, and stayed pretty low-key. Jenna, on the other hand, was different. Everyone knew her, not the cheerleader captain type, more like the girl who was friends with everyone. Smart, pretty, always smiling. I had a huge crush on her for almost a year, but I never had the courage to ask her out. Then prom came and a buddy told me, "Dude, ask her." Anyway, so I did. It completely surprised me when she said yes. Prom night was honestly awesome. We got along much better than I could have imagined, and we officially started dating about a week later. Then we both got accepted into the same state university, which was crazy luck. We spent all 4 years together. We moved in together after graduation into a condo I had bought. Everything was going perfectly well, truly like those relationships people get jealous of. But first I need to give you a little background on my family. My little brother Tyler, 27, was always my parents' favorite without any ambiguity. Better looking, better at sports, more outgoing, always surrounded by girls. The classic little brother who outshines the oldest. Growing up, it was always Tyler this, Tyler that, while I just existed in the background. When we were kids, we got along well. We built forts, played video games together, normal brother stuff. But when he got to high school, and I was already in college, the gap between us widened. He would visit me on campus and instantly become the guy everyone wanted to hang out with. It was super annoying, but I had been used to it for a long time. Tyler and Jenna knew each other since high school since he was only 2 years younger than us. They were friendly, but nothing more, and I never really paid attention to it. They would chat at family gatherings, or when he came to visit us. And my girlfriend and my brother getting along seemed pretty healthy to me. But honestly, there were subtle little things that annoyed me a bit without me saying anything. For example, the fact that they sometimes texted each other, that she would laugh looking at her phone, then just say, "Oh, it's your brother talking nonsense," or their inside jokes that I was not a part of. At parties, some of my friends would sometimes make comments like, "Wow, Jenna and Tyler really have great chemistry," or "They are so alike, it is crazy." I would laugh and move on because what else could I have done? Jenna always went home with me, always told me she loved me, and constantly talked about our future together. After 7 years with Jenna, I was ready to propose to her. I saved up for months to buy a decent ring. Nothing crazy, but not cheap either. I planned everything at this fancy Italian restaurant where we had our very first real date in college. I made a reservation, warned the staff about what I was planning, the whole 9 yards. I also organized a surprise. Both our families and a few close friends were supposed to meet at our condo afterwards to celebrate. The proposal itself went exactly as I had imagined. Dinner was perfect. Dessert arrived with the ring box placed on the plate. I got down on one knee. I recited this speech I had rehearsed for weeks. I completely lost my composure and probably talked nonsense. But whatever. She started crying, said yes, and the whole restaurant started clapping. That kind of moment where everything seems perfect, you know. After dinner, we went back to the condo where everyone was waiting for us for the surprise. Jenna pretended to be shocked, even though she had probably guessed. Her dad gave a very moving toast that made everyone cry. Even Tyler looked happy for us. He gave me a bro hug and told me, "You are lucky." He was quieter than usual, but I figured he was just tired. The party lasted for hours. People were laughing, already talking about wedding plans. I remember thinking it was the happiest night of my life, like I had finally succeeded at something. My girlfriend of 7 years had just agreed to marry me. We had good jobs, a nice condo, supposedly caring families. Everything was falling into place exactly the way it was supposed to. It was getting late, probably around midnight when people started leaving. Most of Jenna's friends had already gone home. My college roommate and his wife were the last to leave besides family. I was in the kitchen rinsing glasses, still riding the high of the engagement. You know the feeling? I noticed Tyler slipping out the back door with a cigarette in hand. Classic him. He needed his late-night smoke break. A few minutes later, Jenna walked by, and quietly said she was going to take care of something real quick before joining me. At the time, I did not really pay attention to it, but time started to drag weirdly. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Still no sign of them, and then it hit me like a ton of bricks. Why had they disappeared at the same time? Something was wrong. I could not explain what, but I had this strange electricity in my chest. Maybe my brain was finally connecting all those subtle red flags I had ignored for years. I walked down the hallway. The bedroom where we had piled all the coats had its door ajar, not completely closed, just enough to let a sliver of light through. I figured Jenna was maybe looking for something. I pushed the door open and everything stopped. Tyler had Jenna pressed against the wall. They were locked in a passionate kiss, completely lost in the moment. She was not even pulling away. They were so caught up in their moment that they did not even notice me right away. And the worst part is, I was standing there like an idiot, still dressed in the same clothes I wore to propose to her. I had spent weeks preparing for this night, picked the playlist, lit up the backyard with string lights, put on the jacket she once said made me look sharp. I had just put the ring on her finger a few hours earlier. People were still congratulating us. And yet, I stood there frozen, watching the girl I had just promised forever to in such an intimate way with my brother, like I was some stranger at a party. I felt my chest tighten like the adrenaline was kicking in before my thoughts even could. I could not move. It felt like someone else's life, like I had walked into the wrong house. But no, it was my house, my future wife, my engagement party, and worst of all, my brother. I do not really remember deciding to confront him. It was like my body acted on its own. 1 second I was frozen in the doorway. The next, we were in a physical altercation. We knocked over the nightstand, smashed a lamp, ripped down the curtains. Jenna was screaming for us to stop, but I could barely hear her, like her voice was coming from underwater. My dad and Jenna's brother rushed in and pulled us apart. I had a split lip and scraped knuckles. Tyler already had a black eye forming and a bloody nose. We were both breathing heavily, glaring at each other with pure hatred. What the hell is this? I yelled, looking at them one by one. Jenna was just standing there, crying, mascara running down her face without saying a single word to defend herself. Tyler wiped the blood from his nose and had the nerve to say, "Sorry, man. It just happened like that, like that." Like he tripped and accidentally landed in that situation. Like they somehow got tangled up by mistake. Like that. You share a passionate kiss with my future wife on the night I proposed to her, and it just happens like that. At this point, everyone had crowded into the doorway with shocked expressions. My mom was covering her mouth with her hand. Jenna's parents looked like they had seen a ghost. I looked at Jenna, wanting anything, for her to explain that it was a mistake, for her to beg for my forgiveness, for her to say she was overwhelmed, something. But she just stared at the floor, tears streaming down her cheeks, completely silent. And that is when I understood. It was not the first time. It had been going on behind my back for a long time, probably for years. How long? I asked. My voice was weirdly calm, even though I felt like my heart was being ripped out. More silence. How long? I screamed, making everyone jump. Tyler looked at Jenna, then at me. It is complicated. I laughed, but even to my own ears, it sounded crazy. Complicated? That is your excuse? That is what you call betraying me behind my back for God knows how long. Complicated. It was not like that. Jenna finally whispered, her voice weak. We never wanted to hurt you. Well, you messed that up big time, I yelled. Out. Everyone get out of my condo right now. My parents tried to calm me down, saying we should talk about it when everyone was less on edge. As if it was a simple disagreement that a good night's sleep could fix. There is nothing to discuss, I replied. You have 5 minutes to grab your things and get out before I start throwing them out the window. Tyler tried to approach me, but my dad held him back. Wise decision because I was ready to start swinging again. They all walked out, except Jenna, who tried to touch my arm. I pulled away like her hand had burned me. I need to grab some clothes. My phone charger, she started. Take what you need for tonight. You can come back for the rest when I am not here, I said without even looking at her. Text me before you come. I do not want to see your face. She started crying even harder. Please, we can talk about this. It is not what you think. It is exactly what I think. The night I asked you to marry me, you were in our bedroom sharing that kind of moment with my brother. What exactly am I supposed to be misunderstanding here? We never crossed that line physically, I swear, she said. It was just feelings. We tried to fight it for so long. But tonight, the night I proposed to you, the night what? I shot back. You decided to celebrate by doing that with my brother. That was the breaking point. Take your stuff and get out. Jenna, we are done. That is when something snapped. The tears dried almost instantly. She crossed her arms and told me, I am not going anywhere. We split all the bills. Remember? I pay just as much as you do to live here. As if she had not just burned our relationship to ashes in 10 seconds flat. As if the fact that the mortgage and the deed were in my name did not matter at all, because she sent me half the expenses through Venmo every month. I stood there dumbfounded while she continued to stand her ground. Then she blurted out, you know what? I never really loved you. Not in high school, not ever. I just felt sorry for you. You were that awkward guy who followed me around everywhere. I went out with you because no one else asked me. You should be grateful I put up with you all these years. As if dating me was some kind of charity work. Before I could even react, she stormed off down the hallway like I was the bad guy, and slammed the door like she was the one who was betrayed. And that is when I realized. I was not just losing a future wife. I had been living with someone who never respected me. I was just some guy she tolerated out of pity. While everyone stood frozen watching the scene, I walked into the bedroom. I opened the door, grabbed the ring box off the nightstand, then walked back to the living room where Tyler and my parents were still standing there like shell-shocked extras in a bad soap opera. Without saying a word, I opened the box, took out the ring, and threw it in the trash. I looked Tyler dead in the eye and said, Congratulations, you can have someone who runs away when things get serious. It must run in the family. Then I opened the front door and told them to leave. When everyone was gone, I sat on the couch in the pitch-black living room, feeling like I was stuck in a nightmare. How can you go from the best moment of your life to the worst in the span of a few hours? The next morning felt completely surreal, like I had a hangover from an emotional shock. The condo was a mess from the party and the fight. I started cleaning mechanically without even thinking about what I was doing. Around noon, the texts started rolling in. Friends who were at the party checking in on me. Jenna was trying to arrange a time to get her stuff. My mom said they were worried about me. I ignored it all. I kept cleaning as if putting the condo back in order could put my life back on track. That evening, I sat down and started mentally planning everything. Finding a new place, changing my number, removing Jenna from all our joint accounts, deciding what to do with all the stuff we accumulated together, and even wondering if I should quit my job just to avoid running into her since she worked in the same building. It was chaos, completely overwhelming. But strangely, it felt like a fresh start, as if I was finally taking back control of a life that had just gone completely off the rails. The next morning, Jenna texted me about coming to get some clothes. I told her I would leave them in the hallway and that I would not be there. I gathered some basic things, left them outside the door, then went to spend some time at a coffee shop. When I got back, her things were gone, but she had left her key in a letter. I almost threw the letter away without reading it. I should have. It was full of, I never meant for this to happen. I truly loved you. I hope someday you can forgive us. The classic excuses. One moment she disrespects me. The next, she claims to have been in love. But the worst part was at the end. I think deep down, I always had feelings for Tyler, even before you and I got together. There is something about him I could never resist. I fought it for years because I cared about you too, but I cannot fight it anymore. I hope one day you will understand. That broke me a second time. 7 years of my life wasted on someone who always had feelings for my brother, who never knew how to resist him. Was I just a placeholder this whole time? A backup plan while waiting until she could be with the one she really wanted? I called my landlord and gave my notice for the condo. There was no way I was staying in a place filled with memories of her, of us, of what I thought we had. For 3 days straight, I did not answer anyone's calls or texts. I kept my phone off most of the time. On the 4th day, there was a knock on the door. I almost did not open it, but they insisted. It was my parents. My mom had that worried look she always has, and my dad looked extremely uncomfortable. We need to talk, my mom said. I stepped aside to let them in, but I did not offer them anything to drink or a place to sit. I stood there with my arms crossed, waiting for whatever they had come to tell me. That is when they dropped a nuclear bomb on what was left of my life. They knew about Tyler and Jenna for years. Not just suspicions, they knew. Apparently, they had an on and off relationship behind my back since sophomore year of college, About 2 years ago when my mom caught them together at our family lake house during summer vacation. The funny thing is, my cousin had made a weird comment after that trip. Something like, family loyalty has a very strange definition around here. At the time, I did not understand what she meant. Now, everything made sense. All these memories came rushing back while my dad was talking nonsense. We did not tell you because we did not want to hurt you, my dad explained, as if that made things any less terrible. Jenna had promised it was over. She said she truly loved you and that she had made a mistake. I literally could not believe what I was hearing. A mistake that went on for years, and you both knew about it without saying anything. Tyler is our son too, my mom said quietly. We did not want to lose either of you. That is when I realized a truth I had been too blind to see my whole life. I was never the priority, not even once. Tyler was always the golden child, and I was just there. Even when he was betraying me in the worst possible way, they still protected him over me. So you let me propose to someone who was being unfaithful, I said, trembling with rage. You sat there during the engagement dinner, during the party, knowing what they were doing behind my back, knowing she was lying to my face every single day. We thought it was in the past, my dad replied. We did not want to ruin your relationship over something we thought was over. Well, no, it was not over, I said. And instead of finding out 2 years ago when I could have moved on, I found out after proposing to her. Do you have any idea how humiliating that is? How much worse you made things by? My mom started crying like she always does when she is losing an argument. A classic manipulation tactic I have seen my whole life. We were trying to protect you, she sobbed. Then she added, in a tone way too calm for the messed up thing she was about to say. Look, Jenna has the right to fall in love with someone who truly understands her. Tyler is more laid back, he balances her out. You are always so uptight. I looked at her without saying anything, and then everything clicked. You know what? Congratulations, I said, my voice shaking more from clarity than anger. Keep choosing him like always because I am done with all of you. Get out of my condo. You do not really mean that? My mom said. We are your family. I do, I answered, opening the door. And that is the saddest part. They finally left, and that was the last real conversation I had with them for 2 years. They tried calling, texting, stopping by my place, but I cut them all off. I changed my number. I cut them out of my life. I found out later through a mutual friend that Jenna had moved in with Tyler about 2 weeks after our breakup. 2 weeks. So just feelings, and we never crossed that line physically. Yeah, right. What a load of empty words. They had probably planned on getting together from the beginning and were just waiting for the right moment to blow up my life. The hardest part was not even losing Jenna. I was almost relieved to be rid of her before being tied to her for good. The hardest part was realizing that my entire family had betrayed me, that every memory was now tainted by the knowledge that they were all lying to my face. That family dinner 6 months ago, they knew. Christmas, they knew. My birthday, they knew. For a while, I could not trust anyone. I started doubting all my relationships. Did my friends know too? Was everyone making a fool of me behind my back while I, poor idiot, had no idea my girlfriend was involved with my brother? I spent a lot of time angry, a scary kind of angry even. But with time, I started to rebuild myself. I focused on work. I started working out. I met new people who did not know Jenna, Tyler, or any of this story. Slowly, day by day, I started to feel like myself again, or maybe a new version of myself. Harder, more careful, less naive, but also stronger. I found a new place on the other side of town, started building a routine, work, gym, cooking real meals instead of eating takeout all the time, hanging out with new friends who did not care at all about my drama. During all this time, I did not contact my family. They tried to reach me at first, but I left every call unanswered and every message on read. If loyalty is a two-way street, they crashed the car a long time ago. Then one night, I was out with coworkers at a bar downtown. I had not set foot in there for years because it was a place Jenna and I used to go to often. I thought I had moved on enough for it not to bother me. Big mistake. Guess who was there? Tyler and Jenna sitting in a booth with friends playing the perfect couple. They had not seen me yet. I froze, unable to decide whether I should leave or stay. My buddy noticed something was wrong and followed my gaze. He knew the gist of my story, not even all the details. And he immediately said, "Let us bounce. This place sucks anyway." But before we could leave, Tyler looked up and saw me. We locked eyes for 3 seconds that felt like an eternity. He nudged Jenna, who turned around. When she saw me, her face did this weird thing, like she was happy to see me for a split second before everything that had happened came rushing back to her. I just turned around and walked out. I did not say anything. I did not make a scene. I just left. My friends followed me, a bit confused but supportive. The next morning, I woke up to a text from an unknown number. "It is Tyler. Good seeing you last night. We should talk sometime." I stared at that message for way too long before deleting it and blocking the number. Talk about what? About how he and my parents lied to me for years. About how he was involved with my girlfriend behind my back. About how they waited for me to propose to her to blow up my life. No thanks. A year went by, then another. I was doing better. I got a promotion at work. I even went on a few casual dates. Nothing serious. I was not ready for that, but I was functioning, living, moving forward. Then after years of radio silence, my mom suddenly started calling me from numbers I did not recognize. I kept blocking them, but she always found new ones. After about the 5th call, I finally answered, ready to tell her to leave me alone once and for all. "Please do not hang up," she said immediately. "It is about the baby." "What baby?" I asked, completely lost. "Your baby with Jenna," she replied. I burst out laughing. "I do not have a baby with Jenna. We have not spoken in 2 years. She says it is yours," my mom insisted. "From right before your breakup." She did not know she was pregnant at the time. That is when I knew they were talking nonsense. Jenna and I had not been intimate for almost a month before the proposal. She was always making excuses, headaches, her period, too tired, stressed from work. Now I knew why. She was probably with Tyler that whole time. "That is literally impossible," I said. "Where is Jenna? Let me talk to her." My mom hesitated. "She is not here anymore. She left," and the whole story finally came out. Jenna had given birth to a little boy 3 months earlier. Tyler was overjoyed at the idea of becoming a father. He was playing the perfect little family, posting everywhere on social media. I knew nothing about it obviously since I had blocked them all. He was receiving tons of congratulations and baby gifts. My parents were thrilled at the idea of their first grandchild. But apparently motherhood was not what Jenna expected. 6 weeks after giving birth, she packed her bags and left. She left a letter saying that motherhood was not for her, that she had lost herself and needed to find herself again. She left for California with some guy she met online, basically leaving Tyler and the baby behind. "Tyler is having a hard time handling it," my mom said. "He cannot work and take care of a newborn at the same time. We help as we can, but we are getting older. The baby needs his father." It took me a second to understand what she was implying. "Wait, you think I am the father? After what you just told me, that she left her own child because it was too hard. Do you really think I am naive enough to believe that?" "We did an at-home DNA test," my dad's voice suddenly said. He must have been on speakerphone. "The baby is not Tyler's. Then it is one of the other guys she was seeing." "Probably," I yelled. "I am not taking responsibility for Tyler and Jenna's situation. Figure it out yourselves." "We are your family," my mom begged. "He is your nephew even if he is not your son. Do not punish an innocent baby for what Tyler and Jenna did." And then everything finally became clear. "You want me to raise my brother's baby because she left them both? After everything they did to me? Are you serious right now? You need to take responsibility. Family helps family. You were not thinking about family when you let me propose to someone who was being unfaithful." I replied, "You were not thinking about family when you protected Tyler instead of telling me the truth. You were not thinking about family when you sat in my condo lying to my face for years." "We are bringing him to your place tomorrow," my dad said. His voice was hard and authoritative, like when I was a kid. "You will change your mind when you see him." I hung up and threw my phone against the wall so hard that it cracked. The absolute nerve of these people. First, they cover up the situation between Tyler and Jenna for years. Then, they let me propose to her knowing she was being unfaithful. And after that, they have the audacity to ask me to raise the child because poor Tyler cannot handle his life as a single father. What planet were they living on for any of this to make sense? I did not sleep a wink that night. I paced back and forth in my condo, trying to figure out what to do. Gradually, a plan began to take shape in my head. I was not going to let them manipulate me anymore. I was better than this. I called a lawyer friend to ask what my legal obligations would be if the child was really mine. which I knew was impossible, but I wanted to cover all bases. He told me that without a court-ordered paternity test, I had absolutely no legal obligation, and even with a positive test, they would have to go through official channels for child support, not just show up at my place demanding I take the child. That reassured me legally at least, but I knew my parents. They were not going to give up. They were going to keep pushing, calling, showing up until they wore me down. Classic manipulation tactics they had used my whole life. So, I came up with a simple plan. Not be there when they showed up. I packed an overnight bag and went to a friend's house. I told him about this completely crazy situation and he replied, "Dude, your family is totally insane." Understatement of the century. I texted my boss to tell him I would be working remotely for a few days due to a family emergency. Technically true, I suppose. From my friend's couch, I started making phone calls. First to my landlord. Was it possible to break the lease early? Then to a real estate agent. How quickly could I find a new place? Preferably in a different part of the city. Next, to HR at work. Were there any open positions in other offices I could transfer to? For once, the universe seemed to be on my side because everything fell into place at a staggering speed. There was an open position in our Seattle office. My landlord already had another tenant interested in taking over my lease, and a college friend in Seattle had a spare room where I could crash while waiting to find my own place. I did not tell my family anything about what I was planning. I stayed off their radar while I got everything in order. Thanks to my friend's security camera, I saw my parents show up at my condo the next day with a baby carrier. I sent a text to my dad. "Leave now, or I am calling the police." I am not joking. They kept knocking for a good half hour before finally giving up. My dad texted me back, "You are making a huge mistake. That is your son." I did not even bother replying. I blocked that number too. That night, I made one of the most important decisions of my life. I was going to accept that transfer to Seattle. Better job, more money, and most importantly, nearly 2,000 miles between me and my dysfunctional family. I sent an email to my boss confirming that I wanted the transfer as soon as possible. He was cool with it and expedited the whole process. 3 weeks later, I was packing my boxes. The day before I left, I sent one last text to my parents. "I am not your savior. I am not your backup plan, and that baby is not mine. I hope that every time you look at him, you think of the son you erased. And every time someone asks you where I went, you remember that you are the ones who drove me away. I will never come back." Then I turned off my phone, loaded up my car with the few things I was taking, and hit the road. I finally felt like I could breathe again. Seattle was exactly what I needed. New city, new job, new people who knew nothing about my past. I rented a small apartment downtown. I buried myself in work and started building a life from scratch again. During the first few months, I was constantly looking over my shoulder, afraid they would eventually find me. I changed my number, deleted all my social media, and even used a P.O. box instead of my real address. Maybe paranoid, but after everything that had happened, can you really blame me? Over time, since they were not showing up, I started to relax. I explored my new city, met new people, and even adopted a dog from a local shelter, a somewhat goofy mutt who needed someone just as much as I did. About 6 months after leaving, I received an email from a cousin I always got along with well. She told me my parents had done a real DNA test for the baby. It turned out he was neither Tyler's nor mine. Apparently, Jenna was seeing multiple guys at the same time. My cousin told me Tyler was devastated, that he had moved back in with my parents, and that they were raising the baby together since Jenna had given up her parental rights. A part of me felt bad for that innocent child, but a bigger part of me was mostly relieved. That email was the last contact I had with anyone from my old life. I simply thanked my cousin for the information and asked her not to share my email address with anyone. As far as I know, she respected that. Life went on. Seattle started to feel like home to me. My dog became my best companion. I started casually dating again. Nothing serious, but it was nice to know I could still connect with people without constantly looking for red flags or waiting for a betrayal. Sometimes, I thought back to all of it and the anger would return, but those moments became rarer and rarer. Eventually, it became nothing more than a completely crazy story from my past, not a wound still open. It is weird how things end up working out. 2 years ago, I thought my life was over. Today, I can honestly say I have never been happier. Sometimes the family you choose is better than the one you are born into. And sometimes a dog and a fresh start are all you really need. Comment. Hey there, this story really made me pause and reflect on what truly matters in life. I hope it encourages you to hold on to your self-respect no matter what comes your way. Setting clear boundaries is one of the kindest things you can do for yourself, even when it feels tough. Choosing peace over endless conflict can open up space for genuine healing. I believe real responsibility starts with protecting your own well-being first. You deserve relationships that are built on mutual respect and honesty every single day. Taking ownership of your happiness is a brave and necessary step forward. Remember that the family you build for yourself often brings more light than the one you were born into. I want you to know that you are stronger than you realize and fully worthy of true peace. Let's keep supporting each other to live with more self-worth and kindness moving forward. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.